Hey folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel.
I'm your co-host, Emma Wiegel.
And today we're talking about another D&D book in Emma's collection that she really likes. And I haven't really read through this one much, so you're going to have to be the driving force on it. So go right ahead.
This is Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. This was my most favorite Christmas gift I think I've ever gotten.
Who gave it to you?
Mom. Other than my brother. But it's quite the doozy. It completely changes how I viewed dragons as a whole, and as villains, and as characters and NPCs.
Okay.
Who doesn't love dragons?
It's in the name.
We're going through Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. There's lots of little fun commentary from him, first of all, about, like, I don't know where that one came from. Tiamat says she didn't make that, but I know I didn't make that. Little funny quips and jokes here
So
and there.
a little bit of backstory, if I can interrupt you with this. Fizban is a character from the Dragonlance Chronicles, who is essentially one of the... Spoiler alert. Okay, the book came out in the 80s. I think the spoiler window is past. Fizban is Paladin, which is the Kryn equivalent of Bahamut. So the great god of good dragons.
The Platinum Dragon.
The Platinum Dragon. So Fizban, when I saw Fizban's name on this, I went, because Dragonlance. And then I was a little disappointed that it wasn't more Dragonlance content, but then I realized, Kurt, you're looking for the wrong things. So, only other thing I want to add is, to the best of my knowledge, you don't play dragons in this, right?
No, but you can play characters that are very closely associated to dragons. They added a whole bunch of new subclasses. Well, by a whole bunch, I mean like 3 or 4. But you can be gifted by these different dragons so that you have different like spell abilities, magic abilities, personality quirks and traits. It's made it very interesting. It's made dragons much more godlike than as just, monsters to go stab at the end of a dungeon. They give you lots of fun ideas for quirks to make your dragons different from each other, so that you have 2 totally different red dragons with totally different personalities but the same goals at the end of the day.
Do they provide an option for alignment changing for dragons?
I believe so. It makes the role play a lot more fleshed out, so you can sort of wiggle around with what you would like with that.
Okay, so like a silver dragon is usually locked in as lawful good.
Yes.
So with this, can you play a chaotic good or a chaotic neutral silver dragon?
I would assume so.
Neat.
It's quite interesting. We also got an entirely different type of dragon. They brought gem dragons in, which I was personally really excited about. You have the amethyst, crystal, emerald, moonstone, sapphire, and topaz dragon, as well as 3 more different ones. The shadow dragon, the fairy dragon, which I've heard of, but I think they fleshed it out a bit more, and the deep dragon, which I think was really cool because it's very like an Underdark type of dragon, while still keeping the look of the deep sea creatures like anglerfish.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it looks pretty fucking scary. I would not want to see that at the end of a dungeon crawl. But they've come up with some really interesting ideas for dragon powers, like how you can kill dragons, how their layers would work for each of these new dragons, where they all would live, all of these wonderful ideas, different appearances as well. They had a table for like randomizing different dragon appearances.
Really?
So you would have some that had like piercings, you could have some that were glasses. So I think that would make dragons much more unique and fun to play with. And as goofy ideas for like mob boss dragons. Yes, mob boss dragons.
So Xanathar's not alone in that one anymore.
No. One of the things I absolutely loved about this was the idea of the dragon horde, and how the bigger the horde, the more powerful the dragon.
Now that's interesting, because that ties in with the 2nd edition campaign setting Council of Worms, where you actually played the dragons. And one of the more interesting things about that setting to me was the fact that your horde was your experience point total. So now you understand why dragons get really honked off when someone takes their stuff, is because it literally diminishes them, possibly unto death.
Yes. And that is actually brought into this. One of the things to kill like an ancient dragon is to steal a certain amount of its horde, weaken it significantly, and then kill the deity, the entity itself. And I thought that was really interesting because it has different amounts you can take for different, like the different levels of dragon, but also it shows how like magically linked the horde is to the dragon. And there are different types of hordes. I love the idea of a dragon with a book hoard of a library. I think that's a really interesting idea.
Which dragon is that collects books? Is it copper or brass?
It could be either one. I don't know off the top of my head.
Viewers, if you remember, say something in the comments underneath. Go ahead.
But it's really interesting. They had ideas for horde monsters rather than like an ooze type of thing. Hiding in the horde. The horde could come to life like a mimic and absolutely devastate you if the dragon's not there. My personal favorite, one of my personal favorites was they updated dragon turtles. So that you can have dragons as pirates. You could be a pirate going around to different
on the back
islands.
Of a dragon turtle.
Well, no, the dragon is the dragon turtle. So that its horde is on its back.
Okay.
And you could play a game of Tritons and go underwater and find the giant ruin of this dragon turtle's horde and play that way, which I thought was
awesome.
Really interesting. Yeah, I know.
Where are the stats for Tritons? Those aren't in the player's handbook.
No, they are in another expansion.
Which is that the Mythic Odysseys, the Theros?
They're in there, and I believe they're also in Volo's Guide to Monsters.
Okay.
If I'm correct.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're totally fine. I absolutely love. I've just absolutely loved the undeath of a dragon as well. Dragon ghosts. And because these things are so incredibly powerful, they're more than just like big lizards to fight. They're the soul of the dragon can get trapped in things and curse things that way. They've done a lot with Draco Liches.
A dragon horde cursed by the ghost of a dragon.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is interesting. It's almost a Pirates of the Caribbean vibe.
Yeah.
Where you have to return every speck of the treasure.
Yes.
So you don't like die a horrible, hideous death.
Yes.
Fascinating. Please go ahead.
Another thing I was really excited about were the idea of dragon followers, where you were sort of blessed by different parts of a dragon. There were the ideas of the dragon blessed, the dragon chosen, and the dragon seeker. The dragon chosen were typically warriors who would offer their bodies for the dragon's might. The dragon speaker would be ambassadors on behalf of a dragon, say to a nation where the dragon is eating all of the livestock and would like to broker a deal with the king to like offer certain amounts in order to not pillage the villages. And the dragon blessed, who are acolytes, sort of worship them as deities.
I'm sorry, can we go back to something really quick?
Yes.
When you said the dragon's eating the livestock and then the local rulers have to bargain with the dragon not to do it, that sounds like a dragon protection racket.
Yeah.
Which goes right back to your Dragons as Crime Lords.
Absolutely.
I love that idea.
A couple of other monsters that I've absolutely been dying to talk about are the Draconic Shard. As I said before, you could occasionally have dragons that haunt things. Specifically with gem dragons, when their force of life refuses to move on, they can haunt, like, people especially, but they can put it inside of magical items, which I think would be certainly very interesting to have happen to a player when they don't know it, as the sword itself is alive. Another one that I really wanted to talk about was the Dragon Blood Ooze, which, as we all know, Dragon Blood is incredibly corrosive and incredibly powerful. Imagine having to fight an ooze that you just fully cannot touch.
Like what, it has corrosive abilities or it burns you?
Yes, I believe so.
Is it based on the color of the dragon?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But it's certainly very interesting.
Absolutely.
The Dragon Bone Golem, which is kind of self-explanatory. The picture for it is really funny because it's a bunch of dragon bones zip tied together, but...
It is. You're right.
It is. But I think it's really interesting for more necromancer ideas and Draco Liches that way. And one that I will definitely be using is the Dragon Flesh Grafter, where you sort of cut off a part of your body, very Ripper's style, and graft monster parts to your body. However, dragon flesh grafters don't always go as planned. Dragons are far more powerful than, say, you and I would be, And the spirit of the dragon can slowly overtake you, turning you into a gold-hungry, greedy monster. Which, again, very gothic horror. I absolutely love that idea.
So I'm going to weigh in here for just a second. As we mentioned earlier, I'm a big Dragonlance fan from all the way back in middle school. God, I'm old. So there are Draconians in this. Now, Draconians are traditionally a Dragonlance monster. So I have a feeling these will get reprinted in the Dragonlance books that are coming out later this year, early next year. Yeah, I know. I'm guardedly optimistic.
I'm very excited.
We'll come back to why I'm guardedly optimistic in just a sec. But Draconians are included in this book, which made me a little bit happy. Now, I don't know why they couldn't name the Draconians what they were in Dragonlance, but they chose not to. But if you know your Dragonlance at all, you'll be able to recognize these. Like the first one, what is that? The Dreadnought Draconian?
Yes.
That was a Psyvac. They're just big, tough, brute force destroyers. Then it goes on, and I'm reaching in front of you here. I'm very sorry. Mm-hmm. So what's this one say?
The Foot Soldier.
The Foot Soldier, that would be a Boz from the Brass Dragons.
The Infiltrator.
That would probably be a Capac, I believe.
And the Mage.
The Mage is, the Infiltrator might actually be the Aurak, and the Mage would probably be a Bozak.
And then you have the Mastermind.
The Mastermind would be the Aurak. So I was right the first time, see? Never doubt me. All right, so any last thoughts?
Buy the book.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite books in my collection. I consult it constantly for fun ideas because, who doesn't love dragons? I love dragons. And the role-playing opportunities for how to play with dragons have totally been changed. Rather than they're just the bad guy at the end of the dungeon, you can now work for dragons, you can work with the dragons. They make them a lot more personable, and on the DM side, they make it a lot more fun than just playing a very static, all I want is gold, or all
good.
I want is to help people. They make them very fleshed out, almost as if they are like the DM's player character. They have quirks now, they can have flaws, they can have bonds, like pacts, all of those really interesting things. And I personally can't wait to play with them.
All right. So here's my one concern with an upcoming Dragonlance setting, and then we'll let you go after that. It's this. D&D 5 has a lot of good things about it, and there's a lot of criticisms you can level. But I don't think it fits well into every single one of the D&D worlds. For instance, Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms, anything goes. It's like a Cole Porter show.
Yes.
Like, there's absolutely no problem with having a Dragonborn, a Genasi, a Tiefling, an Eosmar, and a Sverneblin in a party. You don't even have to rationalize it anymore with the advent of Tasha's.
Yeah.
Now, here's the reason I'm not fond of that. There are no Tieflings in Krynn. There are no Eosmar in Krynn. Now, one of the things that made Dragonlance so interesting was it was different. There was not a single effing orc to be found anywhere in that setting. They got replaced by the Goblinoids and the Draconians.
Elves were decently rare.
Yeah.
They kind of stayed to their own
communities. What I don't know is will they try to open the Dragonlance world up? And if so, that's going to diminish what makes it Dragonlance, in my opinion.
They could have it as another separate domain like Ravenloft.
They could, and if they make those choices, I think that's the way to go. But I don't work for Wizards. Almost said TSR. God, I'm old. Sitting here with the next generation of gamers, and the fact that my knowledge goes back to like the 70s and 80s makes me realize we really need to start incorporating more of the younger generation into this. Because while it's really nice that you have an old, fat 50-year-old man who tells you his opinion on games, I've got kids now who play, and they're the future of this hobby, whether we want to admit it or not. So, thank you very much. I'm Kurt Wiegel.
I'm Emma Wiegel.
And this was Game Geeks. Good day and good gaming.